Notion has become one of the most important places for digital work in recent years, and DocsAutomator now natively integrates with Notion and makes all of DocsAutomator's powerful document automation features available to every Notion workspace and user. So you can generate invoices, contracts, reports, certificates, whatever document type you need to automate, you can do so from your Notion environment. Let's see how that works. Let's get into it. Yeah, let me give you a quick view on the result that we want to achieve. We have a projects database here in Notion, and I basically want to create project summaries for my projects if they are done. And you can see I've done so here already for Stark Industries, for instance, and we create these project summaries with all of our data that we have stored for this project, including a dynamic list of tasks that were accomplished here in this task list. Let's have a look how we set this up in DocsAutomator. Here in my DocsAutomator account, this is my dashboard. And the most important concept for you for now is automations. An automation takes the data source, in our case, Notion, and takes a template, usually defined in Google Docs. In that template, we find placeholders, or we define placeholders, and then we map those placeholders to properties in our Notion database, or in the selected Notion database. I've already created one here called Project Summaries 2026, an automation for our use case. Notion is selected as the data source, and then the database is Projects 2026, so exactly the database we had to look at before. One thing to define here is the document name property. So how shall generate documents be called? I've mapped the project name property here from our database found here in Notion. And then we see the property mapping part. On the left side, we have the placeholders, which we have a look at in a bit in the template. And then on the right side are the properties mapped from our Notion database. Let's spend some time on the template quickly. This is selected when you create new automations. This is now a project summary template here, which you also find in DocsAutomator's template gallery. And in here, you see DocsAutomator's template syntax. The syntax is double curly brackets open and closed for variables that we can add anywhere in our template. So you can really completely customize this template to your needs and then just use these variables wherever needed. Here, for instance, for project name, for project manager, the start date of it, end date, client name, etc., etc. Here we see a special area again, which is called line items. We want to print tasks. As we've seen before in the example, there can be one task, there can be 10 tasks printed on the document. And this we do by defining line items 1 here in a table row, which basically tells DocsAutomator a variable list of items is coming here. And then we've just defined variables that could be whatever. We only have 2 here, the task name, just a variable called task, and the description. We could have 10 variables here in more columns. So this is super flexible, but in our case, we only need those 2. Last thing I want to show you is adding images. So you see this image placeholder here with image underscore. So if you want to add images from Notion, from file fields, actually in file properties in Notion to documents, then you declare the placeholders with image underscore. That's all you need to know for now in terms of the syntax of how you can generate templates according to your needs. As I said before, there's a template gallery that works as a great starting point, but there's also an AI template generator that basically generates Google Docs for you. All of this to be found when you create new automations in DocsAutomator. Let's save and continue. We had a look at this before. So these are the variables that we had a look at just now from the template and then mapped to the corresponding property in Notion. The line items is in a separate area here. We need to select a relation property in Notion. So in our case, we have project 2026, and then on project, we have tasks, which is a relation field pointing to project task 2026. So this is a related database, and basically every tier can have many tasks in that related database. And basically, we just select the relation field here. Then this does the variables declared in the line items table, task and description, and then we can map those variables to the corresponding property name in the line items table, in our case, task name and description here. So these are the two properties. When we're happy with the data that we've mapped, we can generate previews here on the right side. This loads all the project pages that we have in our database. We can select one and then we click create preview. You do this as long as needed until you're happy with the final result with the data that you have mapped. And you make changes here on the left side, and then you create another preview basically until you're happy with the result. Now we can see that, let me actually expand this here in a separate tab. You can see all the data from Notion now being added to the document here. And we also see the list of tasks being generated. In this case, the project that we selected had 4 tasks added on it or connected on it. Let's close this again. This is all you need to know for now in order to generate documents, how the template part works, how to define a template, and how to map data from Notion. Let's move to actions. What's an action? An action is anything it runs after the document is generated. We have a few options here. Maybe the most important one is saving the PDF to Notion, because in the end you want to continue working with that PDF, with a document that is generated. And I've already selected this here, save PDF to Notion, which gives you then the file property that can be set, in my case called project summary. We can have a look at this. There we go. There's a files field called project summary, and this is where the documents that are generated are stored. But there's a lot more. You can save the PDF URL. You can save a Google Doc in addition to the PDF to continue editing. You can upload the PDF in Google Drive. You can send off emails automatically after every generation, either via DocsAutomator's infrastructure or via a connected Gmail account. You can merge existing PDFs. And a big one is you can actually implement legally compliant signing workflows with DocsAutomator. A bit too much to go into in this video. There's going to be a subsequent video highlighting how to do that from Notion, but just so you've seen it already, this you would find. Now, the last step is, of course, generating. Because so far we've set it up, we've set up our template, we've connected some data, we've looked at some previews, we've defined some actions now, but now let's see how we can actually generate this. We have two options, a manual way and an automatic way. Let's look at the manual way first, which is a Notion button. I've added one here already. You see this Create Project Summary button. And if you click on Notion button here, you get a step-by-step instruction of how to set this up. Basically, there's a URL that needs to be added, and then some things that need to be defined in the action here, basically a send webhook action, and then every button click initiates that call to DocsAutomator. Let's do this here for Stark Industries, for instance. We click on Create Project Summary. We can actually go back into DocsAutomator to see that this has now been queued. You see that there's a new document request being that has queued, and then this refreshes every 5 seconds. We see in a bit that this is now successful. There we go. Now it's success. We could have a look at the document here, but of course we can also have a look at the document in Notion, where it's added to the project. And there we go. All of our data being added from our various fields. And this is the recommended way if you want to generate documents manually. So if you know I need a document now, I want to click on a button, and then you're going to see the result a couple of seconds later. Another way, which is one that runs in the background, is the auto create way. Auto create is enabled via this button here. You flip the switch, and then you need to define a trigger. In our case, the trigger is when the status is set to done. On every project, we have a status. And let's say we want to generate documents when the project is done, right? Because that's when we want to generate the project summary. Let's do this for the massive dynamic one, for instance. Here, I'm setting the status to done. And what we need to know now is that Notion batches these every 1 to 2 minutes. So it takes a bit of time for the document to be generated, roughly 1 to 2 minutes. And when this has been initiated, we're going to see this here in a bit. So let's wait for it. I'm going to skip to this in the video. There we go. Now this has been initiated. Took roughly a minute. And we're going to see again that, yeah, now it's already done. And we have the document attached. And there we go with all the details on that project page. The trigger currently is limited to select fields, multi-select fields, checkboxes, and a few other properties. So not everything is available here. Basically, whenever we have a clear-cut equals comparison value, So keep that in mind if you don't find exactly the property that you would like to see there, that this needs to be on ideally on some sort of status right now that is clear cut. Last thing I want to show you is my automation is set to live right now. If you create new automations, they're going to be in test mode. If you're on the trial plan, live mode can't be switched on. For that, you need a subscription. But in test mode, you can basically test your automation end to end with all actions that are running after document generation, also from Notion. So we've seen this here. This is more the preview, is more to look at how does the document exactly look like. The test mode on the overall automation is designed so you can test the automation end to end, including all the actions that are running. You're sending off an email, you're uploading the PDF, in this case to Notion, whatever it is, until you're happy with the final automation, and then you set it to live. I hope this gave you a good overview of how to generate documents from Notion with the help of DocsAutomator. There's a lot more to discover. Please check out the knowledge base. If you have any questions, reach out anytime. If you run into some issues, please reach out as well anytime. And for now, I wish you happy automating and speak to you very soon. Bye.